What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Pokemon Sun and Moon Wi-Fi battle. Today, I've got another never used match. In this one, I'm using a pretty interesting team that was given to me by my buddy Chad. He found this on some Smogon forums, I believe, by someone named Ari, so shout out to you. Anyway, it's a pretty interesting team. The idea is to kind of hazard stack with Spikes and Stealth Rock. I've got two Pokemon with Dragon Tail and Dredagon and Slowking, and then it also has some things that can punish some switches like Sneasel, and it's overall a pretty cool team. But anyway, let's go ahead and just hop into this battle. So I decided to lead off with my Dredagon. I want to get up Stealth Rock as early as possible. It's looking like it's a pretty decent lead matchup for whatever he wants to go with, and he ends up leading off with his Primeape, which I figure is probably fine. He's just going to want to go ahead and U-turn, and seeing as I have Rocky Helmet and stuff, he's going to get hurt with Rough Skin, but he actually just stays in and goes straight for an Outrage first turn, which you definitely do not see a lot. So I wasn't expecting Outrage, obviously, and that's going to knock me down to 26 HP, which is pretty damn intense. I'm going to go ahead and throw out some Stealth Cocks as he's locked into Outrage here. Unfortunately, I don't have anything that's Fairy on my team, so I can't have any safe switches. I decided to just let Dredagon kind of stay in here. And obviously he touches me, so he's going to get that Rough Skin and Rocky Helmet, which is nice. Going to bring him to about half, which is below half, which is actually pretty awesome, as I do end up losing my Dredagon early, which does kind of suck. But I figured at that low a health, he probably wasn't going to be all that useful anyway, so he goes down. He does do a number to the Primeape, though, which is nice. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and switch into Get Glad, my big-ass trash bag. So I'm actually just going to go straight for the Spikes. It doesn't look like he has anything on his team that can actually get rid of hazards, so I'm going to try to go ahead and take advantage of that as much as possible. So I throw out some Spikes, get some Legos on his side of the field. Now it's going to hurt a little bit on switching in. So he brought in this here Mudsdale. Obviously, I don't want to take an Earthquake, so I'm actually just going to switch right into Virizion Wireless, who is coming out here looking nice and shiny. Dude got a sunburn. Get this motherfucker some aloe vera or something. But yeah, so he does just go straight for the Earthquake, as I expected. And as I'm looking at this matchup, he does have a Weezing on his team, which is the best check to Virizion. So expecting him to switch into his Weezing, I'm just going to switch right into my Slowking. So we actually get a nice little double switch. He does end up bringing out the poison disco balls, which is perfect for me because at this point I can go for a future sight, and whatever he wants to bring in is going to kind of take that. I don't expect him to actually stay in here, so he's actually going to end up going for the Destiny Bond, which I wasn't really expecting. I guess he was expecting me to go for a Psychic, just trying to take him out, but I do go for the future sight there. This is a really interesting team with future sight, because I do have a Sneasel on my team whose choice banded with Pursuit, so a lot of the time you'll get people switching out due to the future sight, and I can catch him with that, but it's kind of the idea. But anyway, he's going to set up a layer of Toxic Spikes. Not really the end of the world, seeing as I do have a Poison type with Garbodor on my team, so I go for the Dragon Tail there just to kind of stir things up a bit, get some hazard stack up here. I only have one layer of Spikes, but it's still going to do some solid damage to everything on his team. But I drag out the Clawitzer here, and I honestly don't really have any reason to switch out here. I'm pretty specially defensive with Assault Vest, so I'm just going to go for another Dragon Tail, expecting a switch, as he actually does, and he brings in the Primeape, who gets a little bit destroyed by some hazards, and then just catches this fat-ass tail to the face. And next time that thing switches in, it will be dying to hazard, which is really nice. So that brings in the Mudsdale, and this is really nice because I've got a couple options. I don't think he's going to want to switch out, seeing as I've just been sitting here spamming Dragon Tail. He does get hit by the future sight there, which is cool. Brings him below half. Does activate the stamina, obviously doesn't matter, it just raises his physical defense. So at this point, I'm actually just going to stay in and go right for the Scald, expecting him to expect me to go for another Dragon Tail. I figured it was probably my best play. So he does go for the Earthquake, does a solid amount of damage to me, but some Hot Water is going to take care of your Mudsdale there. So that's pretty cool. That thing goes down. It's kind of a threat out of the way, as now he's going to bring in the Palisand. So he brings out the old Sandcastle. I love this thing's little spinning shovel on the top of his head. This thing's hilarious. So at this point, I'm just going to switch out my Slowking. I figure I can get some Regenerator for later, and it could be useful. Plus, I expect this thing to probably just want to go straight for a Shadow Ball. So I'm going to bring in Bless You, the Sneasel, as I do get poisoned by the Poison Spikes there. Doesn't really matter all that much for Sneasel, as he actually ends up going for the Giga Drain, which I wasn't really expecting there, so that's pretty interesting. But at this point, I can either expect this thing to go for a switch, go for a Pursuit, or I can just stay in and go right for a knockoff, which is what I'm going to do. I have the choice band item, so that's going to make my attack pretty insane. And that is going to knock out the Palisand, so just go ahead and knock over that kid's Sandcastle. Probably pretty bummed. Seems like some solid effort went into building that thing. But yeah, so I'm over here getting hurt by some poison. And I do want to probably conserve my Sneasel for later, as he brings in the Chinchino. So I figured if he's going to bring in Chinchino against Sneasel, who is pretty quick, he's probably going to be Choice Scarf. And I'm going to go ahead and bank on the fact that he is Scarf, and this is going to allow me to switch pretty freely into my Garbodor, who in the process will get rid of the toxic spikes, which is pretty cool. So I get rid of those as he actually ends up going for a bullet seed, and that's kind of just feeding the trash here at this point because it's obviously not going to do really much damage at all. Get Glad is kind of just, you know, adding that to the collection of trash that he's already got in there. Has to hit 5 times, obviously, so this shit takes forever. But as I'm sitting here looking at this matchup, I know that Chinchino doesn't really have anything that he can knock me out with at this point, so I'm just going to go right for a Gunk Shot. As he stays in and goes for a knockoff, is going to get rid of my Rocky Helmet, as he does get hurt by a little bit of that, and I miss my Gunk Shot, which is super annoying. But I'm just going to go ahead and go for it again as he goes for a Tail Slap and ends up missing, which is hilarious because it kind of cancels out my miss, and I do connect on this next Gunk Shot, which is going to take care of the Chinchino. So little Chinchilla homie is going to die. Sorry I had to do that to you, buddy. But at this point, he's going to bring in the Clydeser, making me want some Red Lobster. But I'm actually just going to go ahead and set up another layer of spikes before I go down. I know this Clydeser isn't going to give me too much problem, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw some more Legos out there, as he is going to finish me off with a Water Pulse, I believe. So he goes ahead and shoots some fucking water out of his claw somehow. That is going to take care of Garbodor, but you did a good job, buddy. So I'm proud of you. Anyway, he gets hurt by a little bit of Life Orb, and I'm actually just going to go right into Paulina. Female Paul honestly doesn't have any problem with any special attacks. This thing has special defense investment along with an Assault Vest, so the Sludge Bomb is really not going to do anything to me at all, as I'm just going to go for a Future Sight, considering his last 2 Pokemon are Primeape and Weezing, so they're not going to really like that if he ends up switching, but he's just going to stay in, throw some more Sludge at me, as I'm able to eat that up relatively nicely, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw some hot water at this thing, get a nice little little boil going for the lobster. Actually doesn't end up knocking it out, which is kind of annoying, as this allows him to just go for another Sludge Bomb, which actually won't kill me, but he is going to die to his own Life Orb. This would be a great time to have Slack Off, but this set actually doesn't run that. So I just end up Scalding the air, and his last 2 Pokemon are the Weezing and the Primeape. So he brings in Primeape, who obviously just goes down to the hazards. The Future Sight is actually not going to work, I believe, since there was no target there. So down goes the Primeape thanks to hazards, and at this point his last Pokemon is the Weezing, so I should be able to take care of this thing. So he comes in, gets hurt by a little bit of Stealth Rock. He is going to go for a Destiny Bond, trying to catch me yet again with like a Psychic. But my only attacking moves on this thing are Scald and Fire Blast. So I just go ahead and throw some hot water at this thing just to do as much damage as possible, as he's over there eating some black sludge and doing his Weezing thing here. So he is actually just going to be able to finish me off with a Sludge Bomb. Obviously he is faster because I'm the slowest king in all the lands, and down goes Paulina, but not too big of a deal because this does allow me to switch into whatever else I want at this point that can take care of Weezing, and I decide to go into Miss Maggie. She hasn't gotten a whole lot of action, and I figure I kind of want to just bust out the old Z powers. So I'm going to go ahead and attack this thing with a Never-Ending Nightmare, which is a pretty intense looking move, honestly. About to send this thing to the fucking the upside down world from like Stranger Things or whatever. So I go for Never-Ending Nightmare, bring out all the Demogorgons and all that bullshit. So that is going to end up taking care of the Weezing. Obviously a little bit of overkill. I think I probably should have just gone for Shadow Ball, but always want to see the all animation. But anyway, that is going to be the end of the match there, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Go ahead and hit that like button on this video, and don't forget to subscribe for some more Wi-Fi battles. Peace out.